96.7 KCAL rocks. Here we are doing our sports on our Thursday. Man, it's time to talk to our guy, Pep. Pep, what's going on?
All right, Patrick, here we go. It's game one of the NBA Finals, Boston against Dallas. We'll talk a little more about that. But really, as you're getting up on this Thursday morning, there's a lot of Laker fans here in the Inland Empire. And I'd call it a curveball. Some breaking news here that the Lakers, they've not announced their new head coach as of yet, as of this Thursday morning. But from out of nowhere, it looks like the front runner could be the University of Connecticut's Dan Hurley. UConn, who's won back-to-back national titles, all of a sudden has emerged as the number one guy for the Lakers.
Right. Definitely a left turn for sure. And also a very fiery guy who seems like he's used to coaching college kids and managing these huge egos, and maybe one of the biggest egos in sports. Seems like he's going to have a tough time dialing it down. So there's really a couple of ways to look at this. Is this another diversion? Like they say they were using J.J. Redick as a diversion. Or is this for real? Because, let's not forget, I believe Coach K is like in the consulting vibe here, helping the Lakers pick the coach. Maybe he's like LeBron. Maybe you need to come down a notch with the ego. You might need a guy to bark at you, Tom Brady style with Belichick.
I like that. It's like a distraction to the distraction, right? Maybe Coach Hurley is the guy. Dude, wouldn't it be amazing? Not that this will never happen. It has probably like a 0.0001% chance to happen. But can you imagine if Coach K came out of retirement and was like, you know what? LeBron, we've got the Team USA history together. I'll come back and coach like 2 years until you wrap up your career. Like, wouldn't that be insane?
Absolutely insane. I have to admit, there's a part of me that doesn't believe that Hurley would be a good fit. Of course, I don't really know. But also, with the way that college sports has changed and NIL and all that stuff, lots of times these college coaches do want out, and they might as well be getting into the pros because they're going to have to manage big money kids anyway.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of big-name college basketball coaches like the idea, at least flirt with the idea of going to the NBA and recreating that success, right? John Calipari, Rick Pitino are two of the probably more famous ones. Works out a little bit, maybe not great. They always end up coming back to the college ranks, it seems like. So, I don't know. And here's the other take on this too, Patrick, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you've got to think, even though the Lakers are keeping this close to the vest, you've got to think they've consulted LeBron at least a little bit, like, hey, we like Dan Hurley. We like what he does. Are you cool with that? You know what I mean? Not saying like LeBron makes the hire, but LeBron kind of makes the hire. They need his blessing on this.
And then, yes, also, Bronny has to be figured into this a little bit. Maybe they want Hurley to develop Bronny. That would be very weird to be focusing on such a raw talent, and that would be a big ask for LeBron to be like, hey, man, can everyone put their lives on hold and the Lakers on hold so you can develop my son?
You know what? I didn't even think about that. There's a lot of layers to this now. but I don't know. Maybe J.J. Redick is still in the running. But as we wake up on this morning, I was shocked as everybody else that Dan Hurley would leave UConn back-to-back national championships. He has said over and over again he loves it up at UConn. But to be the front runner now, I'm sure the Lakers are going to break the bank and give him whatever he wants to make this happen, if this is true.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. What a huge distraction. It is something, though, just to kind of put the NBA back in the news as we get back into the finals here. So there's a lot of things going on here. This could be, it feels very political. Deception is going on, it feels like.
Yeah, game one of the NBA Finals, and this news just happens to leak about the Lakers, coaching search. So it's very interesting. But I hope you heard the other day LeBron just gushing over his former teammate Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving and the Mavericks are going to play the Boston Celtics tonight. And LeBron even said that Kyrie is the most talented player in the NBA that he's ever played with.
Right. And I think he wanted the Lakers to go after Kyrie. But I think kind of at the time, let's remember, Kyrie has chilled out a lot on the flat earth stuff, on the anti-Semitic stuff. I think at the time, Kyrie was just too toxic.
Yeah, and I think he's even admitted that, right? Like he was a little wild, a little rough around the edges for a while, and I think he's kind of dialed it back in. And when he's dialed it back in, he's a great basketball player, probably one of the best, at least, scorers in the game right now. And he's a huge reason why, Luka has a running mate and helped, the Dallas Mavericks get to the NBA Finals out of a crowded Western Conference.
Maybe he watched the Boeing Starliner launch and saw the curvature of the earth.
I guess it's true, right?
Yes.
I guess it's round. But yeah, and Kyrie's kind of the big story in this because remember, he played for the Boston Celtics, and that's his former team, and now he's led a different team, leading Dallas to the finals. So it's kind of poetic, right? It's kind of the Kyrie Irving series.
Yes, we love hostile territory, so it's nice and juicy for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it will be interesting. Game 1 tonight, Mavs and Celtics. Now, Patrick, we've got to talk a little baseball here. We're going to talk Dodgers and Angels. We'll start with the Dodgers real quick. All of a sudden, the Dodgers kind of sputtering a little bit. The Pirates are going for the sweep of the Dodgers, which has not happened in a long time. Yesterday, we saw Shohei Ohtani go deep after off Paul Skeens, who's the #1 pick from last year's Major League Baseball draft. So Ohtani's still doing his thing, but offensively, despite a lot of great players in that batting order, they're just not producing a lot of runs right now.
You know how baseball is. And in the big scheme of things, if you're going to kind of go through a slump, now's kind of, we're getting into the dog days of summer, as we say. Now's the time to do it because we all know all they got to do is not completely fall off the face of the earth. And if they can get hot at the right time, baseball's very strange and very long. So I think this is going to happen even to a stacked Dodger team.
Yeah, you know what? And there's some guys, I think Gavin Lux, Chris Taylor, some guys have just not been hitting. So I know their names will probably come up as we get closer to the trade deadline, see if the Dodgers are going to do something. But with all that said, you're right. They're still one of the best teams in baseball, probably outside the Phillies, maybe the second best team in the National League right now. So with all that said, they're still really good.
If they add even more firepower, it just eventually starts to feel like cheating.
Yeah, you're right. No. So the Dodgers trying to avoid the sweep against the Bucks. Meanwhile, the Angels, they swept the Padres at the Big A. They completed the 3-game sweep last night. Patrick, this is crazy because the Angels actually have the worst home record in all of Major League Baseball. That was only their 10th win at the Big A all season. So for them to sweep a home series against San Diego, that was pretty big of the Halos.
It does seem like opposing players do play good in Anaheim. I can even remember as a kid, Ken Griffey Jr. always played great at the Big A. Maybe there's something about other teams' happiness while being in Anaheim. Maybe they get to take their kids to Disneyland. I don't know what it is. Opposing players do seem to play well in Anaheim.
It's probably, you're right. I think you're right. It's the quality of life. So the players come down to Southern California, to Orange County. They bring their families. So the wives and kids are happy. They're going to the beach. They're going to Disneyland. They're doing fun things. So the players happy. And, then you have to hit the road and go to someplace like Kansas City or whatever. So you got to enjoy your time in Orange County.
I think so.
And finally, just to kind of piggyback off this Angels-Padres series, I think it was Monday night. San Diego threw out their old knuckleballer, Matt Waldron. And I guess you could say he's technically a knuckleballer because he throws more knuckleballs than other pitches. And we haven't seen a guy like this since R.A. Dickey. Remember, R.A. Dickey had a pretty good run throwing the knuckleball. So there's another knuckleballer out there in baseball.
Right, and it was always wild to grow up with Charlie Ho or with Phil Niekro or Joe Niekro. And, of course, Tim Wakefield, who must have played for 20-plus years. But it goes to show you it's kind of cool to see the knuckleball being back and being in effect and being effective, like we were just talking about off air. If the catcher's having trouble catching it, how the hell do you hit it?
Yeah, it's impossible. If you see a knuckleball pitch and slow it down, it's amazing you see the movement on it. And Patrick, now I'm thinking about it, I don't think he was technically a knuckleballer, but Stephen Wright for the Red Sox, who's from Moreno Valley, about 5 years ago, he was throwing the knuckleball as well. I don't know if you'd call him a knuckleballer, but yeah, there's been guys coming in and out of baseball who kind of, play around with it, experiment, but it looks like we actually have another knuckleballer in this Matt Waldron guy for the Padres.
I was listening to an interview with the Padres manager, and he said, lots of position players actually throw a decent knuckleball just because while warming up and playing catch, they like to screw around with it. And that's a lot of times where it comes up. And then a pitcher has adopted it. He throws it 77 miles an hour. And I was telling Pep, too, sometimes they look for a day when the wind is a little bit in the pitcher's face, then it makes the knuckleball real active.
Yeah, and like you said, too, if you mix it up, if you got like a 95-mile-per-hour fastball, and then you throw like a 70-mile-per-hour or 65-mile-per-hour knuckleball, that's hard. That messes up all your timing.
It's just nasty. And then, a couple of times when I was watching him throw it, all of a sudden it'll just go at the batter. So it kind of frightens the batter as well. They don't know where it's going to go.
No, and the pitcher usually doesn't either. The knuckleball, where's it going? Nobody knows.
A little bit of Crash Davis after he hit the old mascot. He was like, I don't know where the ball's going. Yeah. I'm serious. And then there's a little fear there.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The batter, the catcher, the pitcher, nobody knows where it's going.
Good to have a knuckleballer back, just like it's good to have Pep back on a Thursday. Tell him how to get your stuff, Pep.
Just like a knuckleballer, you can't pin me down. You have no idea where I'm going. But you can find me on Inland Sports, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got the Inland Sports YouTube channel. That's Inland Sports.
Thanks, Pep.
Inland Sports.